Hello, hello, hello. Well, a couple more minutes because we'll just sit here until we start. Thank you everyone for coming, by the way. It's just a fun business talk we've had this weekend. It's nice to see you all on a Sunday afternoon. It's full here anyway. I think we'll feel fun. And I can just invite people if you want to find a place to sit. It's going to be about half an hour talk, some questions at the end. So there's some extra seats down here if anybody wants to stand near your legs. But yes, so welcome to the videos. Let's do this about wild camping talk. We're going to be talking about why is everyone talking about wild camping? Why is it there so much? What is important today? It's result by the number of people who have come here to watch. And what are some of the things of like what's the future of wild camping like in 5-10 years? So we're going to talk all about. So just to introduce a small panel today, I have the news. I am camping support services at the POC, so I've been dealing with challenging the legality of wild camping at the moment. So we'll talk about Darwin later, but there's been a case in the Supreme Court. The only place that wild camping is legal is rights been challenged on this. So I've been focusing on that, talk about that more. And this is Mark. If you want to introduce yourself, Mark.
Thank you, Evan. So yeah, my name's Mark Hayhurst. I'm a special educational needs teacher, outdoor teacher, taking young people into the outdoors. I've been quite actively involved as well with the sort of Dartmoor campaign, fighting for our rights to sort of wild camping. But what I really sort of at my heart is encouraging young people to go out into the countryside to access it, responsibility to learn about how important that is. So that's a bit of my background. And that's where I come from. I'm outdoor educator who likes to be by example. I do a lot of long distance hikes through the UK, through your GR20 course and international park, that sort of thing, where I'm wild camping quite freely when I'm in the UK. Find sometimes a very different sort of story, so I would bring that to the news now. So the contributions that we have sort of getting into spaces, engaging with nature, finding spots where we can actually log up without actually seeking conditions.
Thanks, Mark. So yeah, things that we've very much listening with the big question that you know lots of us. What is wild camping? So wild camping is in some ways a relatively recent term. For many years people have referred to it as bivouac camping or camping or just sort of camping without permission. Wild camping is a relatively modern term, and it's taken on a lot of people's imaginations. It's taken on a lot of people's sort of like a lot of people are very passionate about wild camping. A lot of businesses are advertising wild camping in terms of the equipment, the making the advertising they have. They've seen these like beautiful pictures of their tents, hills, these outside locations. Yeah, the question of what is wild camping is a question that some people disagree on, like whether it's the act of camping someone without permission, whether it costs money on a mountain, whether it has to be something like I don't know. There's lots of different definitions. So, what do you think? What's wild camping for you? What are the core principles of wild camping?
As Evan said, there's this really tricky one, and I don't want to sit there and say my definition of wild camping is the right one, it's my interpretation, it's right for me. I think the most important for anybody is about getting away from the day-to-day, fast-paced life and connecting with the outdoors, finding that space, finding that personal sort of moment where you can get away from things. I think that's the most important thing in life. We are essentially, as humans, wild animals. Our instincts are about showcase, about being out in nature. And on a day-to-day sort of basis, we don't necessarily cope well with the stresses of that from day to day. Finding that connection, being outdoors, whatever that means to people is so, so important. So for me, wild camping is about being in nature, it's about connecting. And obviously, the more prescribed that is, the more you're booking that, the more you're planning that, the more you're paying for the rights for that, the more regulated, in my opinion, that is, the less you're away from accidents. So I've got great passion for being able to just get out the door, throw on my backpack, walk to where I want to, throw my tent down, and know that I do have I've got access to it. For the young people I take onto Dartmoor, you know, there's a gentleman at the back there that I do training with, 10 years training. We take young people into the outdoors and they learn to connect with the outdoors, they learn to respect it. I can think of one example last week where we took some youths onto the wall. We had their camping out, that had all of the violent sort of nesting zone sites in there. And without being provocative, they saw a gentleman walking, he was got off the view of Dartmoor, finally turned to them and said, "So if you mind putting your dog back on the lead, that's a skylight nesting area." And it's those connections that are so, so unique. So for me, it's about having that connection, needing that connection, because without that connection, we aren't going to take responsibility for the landscape, to care for it, to live for it,
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, over the last couple of years, really, from reading this stuff, and speaking to activists, to planners, practitioners, educators, and people about that all, but also in other places, the kind of the core principles that help for me is freedom and self-sufficiency. So you're taking, not necessarily going on the way, you can be in a you're taking responsibility for everything. And you're experiencing a sense of freedom in the landscape that you just don't get from everyday life. So maybe we can have a conversation later about what happens to you and the definitions, but for now, let's go to the next week. So, camping is extremely popular. Wild camping also in any. I've got sort of like things here. This is not like some of the wild camping Facebook groups you see these days have got 14,000 members. BMC, we've been going for 100 years and we've got 80,000 members. So kind of, so to give you a number, that's 170,000 members now. So we're dealing with something that's increasingly popular. People want to go on, they want to be able to experience snorkeling. But as sort of I've mentioned, it's illegal in most places, right? So the problems that we get from this great desire for people that want to go out and also having a real lack of guidance on how do we get to feed our local area. What are the barriers and the threats that I'll experience, and like different people experience the intersect of things. Right? So if you're from inner city London and you're not right, and you're walking around a farm in Wales with a little bit back in life, I guarantee you that you get a completely different reception to your crew with to Welsh people traveling around the village. Same thing, I've spoken to a lot of women, people like myself and Mark, walking around, talking to us. Some of us relish that challenge, and they say, well, actually look like trespassers at similar events, and can't really do anything. Like, I'm trying to have that conversation, and if it gets a little bit standoffish, then I'm a 6 foot tall man in my 20s, there's not a lot of threat. Like, other people experience that completely differently. I have a lot of female friends who I've never considered going wild camping because the feeling that they get confronted is a huge predictive factor for them. So that's just look, anything to say on that. So some of those barriers that people.
I think for me, it really is that it is incredibly popular. You know, this event today has demonstrated, you know, the desire that people have to want to be out in the outdoors, and our laws, our ability to access that nature don't connect with people's desire. You know, those opportunities to do that without fear of repercussions are a real concern for so many people. And I think that's something that we want to get across today is there are so many ways to access the outdoors, but actually something fundamentally has got to change to allow us, our human sort of desires to have that access.
It's quite fiddly. So, I mean, we've talked a little bit about, we're obviously, we go wild camping, we're for wild camping, but there's a lot of problems associated with wild camping. Litter, wildfires and things like that. There's a lot of people who are keen for ocean lanes as well, problems in the countryside to, well, there's a lot of firefighters camping by the side of the road, starting fire, jumping down trees and vegetables. How do we sort of like tackle both that problem and that actually happens, and also that perception of what wild camping is, and landowners, national authorities?
I think the first thing to say is I like to try and lead by example when I'm out in the outdoors as an educator. I encourage the principals to sort of lead for their trace and stuff like that. But I also engage with landowners with very sort of positive dialogues. I can think of an example when I was in the Yankton National Park and they've got what's called beaver whacking there. You can literally 7 o'clock at night, get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and have a right to be there. But the shepherd came over to me and said, I want to drive my sheep through there today. I want to sort of graze on that bit of flat ground. And I didn't press out and move on and say, yeah, that's quite right. I can camp over there. When I'm on Dartmoor, I'll knock on the farmer's gates and I'll say, did you know your sheep's limping or whatever? I've got the phone numbers in my phone or who to contact if there's issues with, livestock and dart. They're all positive ways that we can make an impression. When I picture a camp at the end of the day, I will take litter that I find there with me so I actually have a positive impact, not a negative impact. Because again, that's leading by example, that's showing that actually a difference. It's quite interesting, this perception though, that camping will has actually have negative sort of impact. I did a guided walk to Tour with regard to Dartmoor before the recent court case with Tree Trails, and we actually have negative data. We couldn't find any litter of that wall around the camping ground. So there's a perception that Dartmoor is littered with the remains of camping bikers is just so far removed from reality. You might get the odd tiny wrapper that falls out someone's pocket in about a metre. There'll always be somebody like me walking behind and picking up that on top of it.
Yeah, I think you've touched on a really interesting point there. Are there any landowners, farmers here in the audience? The farmers that I speak to when I come from a farming background, they tell me that farming as a profession and living in the countryside as a lifestyle is becoming more lonely. It's becoming harder. The average age of a farmer in Wales is 59 years old, which is that's not a good sign. And the young farmers finding a very isolated place. So there's increasingly more voices on that side of farming, or on the side of things who look at things slightly differently. Instead of looking at people that visit the countryside as a problem, they're looking at it as a part of their community. Much more people used to live in rural Wales, for example. The population of Berkshire has shrunk by 5% in 10 years. The population of Newport town has grown by 8%. I don't think that's healthy for rural Wales. I couldn't represent myself. The village I grew up in is basically on land. And so by approaching access in a different way, in terms of a social contract, the farmer is happy to have people come on the land and then influence towards the area where people come on their lines, aware of what it means to be a farmer. What's like allowing to the limits of what you can do about that, the way you can go. Also, to be a part of farm this business, like a program, to be, as you mentioned, like if you see a lamb who's trapped in a fence with up to videos, I'm sure, you see a sheep, a pregnant sheep that's been flipped over, you know what to do in those situations. That's the kind of vision we want to see. But also, I mean, if we're talking about things like this, right? I think of litter not as a problem of people being in the countryside, it's a problem of litter. Like, these 10 brands account for basically all of the litter in the British countryside. So if we can get to the point where people instead of taking that litter problem to using it as a stick to be in access, to say, you're not interested to the world, you're not interested to access the countryside, turn that anger just about litter, if we can find a possibility like this. Similarly, I think, there's a lot to be said about the threat of wildfires. Right now, there's been probably about 10 wildfires in the last week. This is like the first dry spell that was there, right? And very quickly, you see some landowners, not all landowners, but certain sections of the business area say, this is like as wildcampers or, people in the countryside, and they're sort of animals, they cause fires. Actually, this was used on that one, we'll touch on a little bit more, right? As you can see in this headline. So this refers to an argument that was made on wildcampers and not saying there's a threat of wildfire, stop around lighting fires. And I think made a Freedom of Information request to see what the veracity of our claims, where the wildfires come from. It turned out that the majority of them being started by landowners in order to the growth of the swaying over 10 years, and wildcamping is not a significant factor. So I think it's important to have that conversation with a very real investment. But don't get fooled into believing that the cause of all the problems in the buying. Same thing with the nature crisis, like your group of 12 kids stepping over that wall, they're not the reason that there's a nature crisis. Let's be completely honest about it. So just kind of move on to the next one. There's an interesting one. I promise that I won't get too bogged down in the detail of this one, but it's an important information. So if you are paying to go out I'm still welcome. It's kind of an open question that I might think about for minutes. And the position of the BFC on access, so this goes way beyond what it's always been, that we don't accept the principle that we should pay for access. That's not to say that landowners shouldn't be access to the office store, that should pay for that. The history of the access movement since the 1940s, with the establishment of national parks, with any kind of step forward in access that was ever done, it's been based on the principle that paying for access itself is not accepted. On the other side of that, there's always been this consistent argument that actually we should compensate landowners for going on their own. That's been an argument that's been said. It's still being said. But if we were to accept that literally, none of the gains that was ever made in terms of access, they would have all been paid for, and they would have been extremely expensive. When we lost access to Dartmoor, we didn't actually lose access to all of Dartmoor for welcome, because the national park stepped in and they organised the paid scheme which compensated for all the tune of hundreds of pounds for the national park. There's a real cost, both in terms of the base principle of access, but also in terms of where does this get us? So,
I think the main sort of issue for me is that obviously we've got a very limited area where we can access for free. But there's also a lot of areas within the UK where you and I know that that's tolerated. You can go up to a certain level in the Lake District, but over the tenants can know really not going to be disturbed. Or you can go on to certain areas of the Cornish coast, put yourself away in the way that would be okay. But as soon as you start moving towards sort of paved model, a lot of landowners that allow this to sort of exist for generations by default, there's that temptation of suddenly saying, actually, we should charge for that access, we should take away that right, we should fence off our land and actually, bring that in. So for me, it's really important to celebrate the areas that we can have access to, protect those, to nurture and to push that they remain in place and that we're not losing that one pay for sort of camp system. That is the absolute final example of that. We go on to that. But it's an area that was long accepted the Royal Camp on. The legal sort of framework that the National Park Authority put in place, Dartmoor National Park, was quite willow because they didn't feel that they needed to be tight because it is almost a gentleman's agreement on Dartmoor. They could access that. There wasn't that need. Other things like angle riding the quad bike, riding a caravan on Dartmoor, they really are controlled by the operators, but camping is left alone. And my theory is that the more we go for the paper access, the more we're professional and those gentlemen's agreements, and we're moving things in the wrong direction. We need to be opening up with countries like access freely from, the BMC's design, not,
Yeah, and to be completely clear, like, there is nothing wrong with landowners providing a good fresh campsite that's very basic. A lot of us really enjoy that type of company. Personally, a lot of the time, I just want to build a square of perhaps make it better, no one else, where to go to the room. However, I think when you have something that you're just looking for land that is in the woods somewhere, and you have to sign it for that. I think what that creates is a perverse incentive. Say, my friend there, was a farmer, he's farmer in North Wales, he's a beautiful farmer, farm. Say his neighbour, let's say David. David has a scheme now where there's an app that you can use, we go there, £25, let's say, slap it £25, let's say, £8,000 a year, absolutely no issue with, no facilities provided, do you think that then still doesn't like this farm? Happy about that? Or something? But I feel this as well. And so when you kind of expand that vision into 10, 15 years in the future, it's fairly bleak. And just not to linger too much, but this is not the UK. This is an interesting place in 2019. I'm only just going to find out on this recently. There's a scheme called UK. What's the English name? Completely different things, believe it or not. And in the scheme with two national parks, thousands of lakes, where you could register, would be £30 camp somewhere in the national park. And why the company doing this with it? It's funding for different the environment agency. And this was the solution to it. This is really interesting because these national park authorities, they were willing to kind of waive this position that some of them are motion categories things. As long as there was a sort of steady flow of cash. And there was no provision of any kind of facilities, nothing like that. It was £20 a night or build various different places. And what happened was, they kicked it off massively because they thought, this isn't what wildlife is. It shouldn't be charged for it. It shouldn't be designated. Then that company doesn't exist anymore. It's completely been scrubbed from the internet, and the sort of conservative consulting agency that they put the statement out saying we have listened to the public. We can see now that they don't think that this is appropriate or what wildcamping is, and they vanished and they would never tried again. So I think I think WildCamping, I can't well them there. I don't know if you visited this, but they're really lovely guys. They're really genuine. They love WildCamping in all its forms. And I've had lots of interesting conversations with them. The disagreements and the principle being the work for WildCamping. And they seem to be relatively open to those conversations. So we'll see where they end up. But I really hope they don't leave us, but WildCamping is just a mess. So I guess we'll stop on that now. So why does Dartmoor matter? Can you introduce us to what's happening on Dartmoor and why does it matter to people who live into Dartmoor?
Okay, so Dartmoor was or is a very special place. It was one of the few places in the UK where it was widely accepted to work under this now. It's a great natural resource for educators and team groups training. That is an area that you can lock up and you put your things up there and you could be having a cup of coffee at 10 o'clock in the morning, looking out at the doors, connected with that landscape and knowing that you're never going to be visible. As I touched upon earlier, it was an area that wasn't really cemented in absolute laws where it was really clearly defined that this was something that couldn't be challenged. And unfortunately, a landowner built a large section of Dartmoor for school hall, the hedge fund manager, and he took to contesting the right and to taxes what's called over-recreation on the rules and took that to the court. He was initially successful in the but we took that to the High Court, got that overturned, and that was overturned unanimously by three judges who said that's absolutely fatherless. they've got absolute rights to wild camping. It's taken up further to the Supreme Court, and we're waiting for the results of that soon. But one of the most worrying conversations within his sort of defence of not wild camping was that he said that you have no right to walk on Dartmoor beyond going from the point A to B without. You couldn't stop, you couldn't bird watch, you couldn't rest, you couldn't head down to sleep, you couldn't do any other form of recreation activity. So in default, by not just doing the journey from A to B, going through, you were breaking the law. And that's a really, really dangerous precedent because that goes far beyond Dartmoor if he's successful. That goes to any pocket land, the National Trust, the cliff top paths, rock climbing, to birding, to caving, to cycling. It basically says that if you need your way to be, you're breaking the law. So that is rules. Not only have we got to the point where we're fighting for our last sort of shred of wild camping where we do that without permission, but we're actually looking at a complete breakdown of what we understand.
Yeah, I think this speaks to a really like ingrained philosophy some people have about access. They think that like access to like sort of public rights of way, for land. It's not about like having a relationship with land. It's about getting the way to be. It's about active travel. And I love active travel. However, many of us want to have a relationship with where we live that goes beyond going from my house to the pub or wherever else we may go. Other options available. It means going to, pausing for a little sit down and listening to the birds or, if you're an older person, it means actually, like having a little pause and not being asked to be moved on. It's really, like this, it's a really profound case. And if you're not familiar with the goings on, I'd really recommend having a look at some of the press that's been out about this case. It's really staggering. You could literally get any day now. My basic hope just heard we could be at any day with the result of this cases. So this picture here is from a protest that was around the same day as the Supreme Court case as it was heard. There was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people here. It's really there's a strength of feeling. It doesn't look like it in that photo, but it was an extremely rainy day as well. So when that verdict is announced, the BMC will be joining our partners, such as the One Campaign, the Starter for Everyone, other organisations. There's many organisations in Dartmoor campaigning about this and feel really passionately about this. It's involved in their businesses, it's involved in their well-being. And we'll be kicking off that campaign as soon as we hear the verdicts. If, heaven forbid, we lose the right to WildCamping in the last place we can in England and Wales, we'll be fighting to change that law because we feel it will reflect the needs, the traditions, the customs of in Britain. Like this is something that affects people all over England and Wales, as I said. So we'll be competing really hard for that laws to be changed, and we feel that there will be some sympathy for that. I hear that Marie was the Environment Secretary is a really keen wild camper himself. So my goal is to go wild camping with Steve Reid if I can, bring him along and ask him some questions. I really encourage you guys to get involved in as much as we can. If you've got time to head down to London, there'll be some protests there, and down. Live near to Dartmoor, come up and join us. So we're more minutes. That's just a picture of so you want to talk about before we start up and have a conversation?
I think I just want to allay some of the fears that some might have with the idea of what is a right to roam. People generally interpret that as thinking that that is a golden ticket to walk wherever you want, to camp in the middle of a cabbage field if you say fit, to wave your fingers up at a farm and say, F you, I've got every right to be there. It really, really fundamentally is not that. It is a code of conduct about responsibly accessing the countryside. It is a set of rules that tightens up and protects farmers and their land. It says that you can't camp in the middle of the cabbage field. You can't leave gates open. You can't drop litter. But it also allows a platform because you are legitimising something to educate people. provide a platform to say, this is how it should be, and to lead by example. And unfortunately, with not having access, we do not have a platform to sit there and go, let's put a sign up that says, don't drop litter here when you're camping. Let's educate about ground nesting birds, because we haven't at the moment got that platform to do that, because we haven't got that right beyond, you know, a de facto right. So something that I'm quite passionate about is cementing legislation so everybody's clearer, singing from the same tune, farmers are protected, mental health, well-being, access, all of that access as well. And I think that is something that we need to have a greater understanding of that. So that's where I want to sort of leave my sort of input on this, is that I think that could be a hugely positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put. It's about renewing that social contract. Right? Things break down when we don't talk to each other, we don't understand each other, we don't listen to each other. And to my mind, an access reform has always been about like building those connections between communities, between the rural, the urban, and between each other. So just to kind of wrap up my presentation, I know you can't quite see the text there, unfortunately. However, it says BMC WildCamping, summer 2025 in Durham. Yeah, all of them. So we'll be launching a campaign this summer, hopefully, around WildCamping. So there'll be a big focus on, on education, on spreading awareness of how you go wild camping, where can you access the tools, the education, the courses to know how to go responsibly. But also, like, a lot of the conversation around wild camping revolves around the press and the newspapers, around what awful behaviour is. As you can see, there's 200,000 people in Facebook groups talking about wild camping. If you go into those Facebook groups, all they're doing is sharing information about how to do it more responsibly. They're asking, what equipment is suitable for this place? How can I get some tips on like how fit do I need to be to walk this hill? It's all about sharing information. So I'd like to invite any of you guys summer take a look at our campaign when it's launched. Tell us about what your experience has been. Welcome. How do you feel? Did you face any barriers? Been confronted? Did it have a positive impact on your well-being? Did you have a nice day? We want to basically show that this is something that we're already doing. People are already doing it in a really positive way. I like that. We will bring that to the syllabus and then to provide legislation which reflects the needs of people like you. So yeah, that's this space. Please join us. I guess I'll open to some questions first. Any thoughts, any reflections, any questions on the two? Quick one. You got some prizes to give out, but you've already had one, so.
Do you find that in the campaign and stuff like that, in terms of the VMCs making a start on the campaign, you kind of getting sort of thinking you were not fighting regulars on
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we work with landowners, and I work with landowners as really unique for what we do. Our relationship with landowners breaks down when we say, ignore what landowners say, just trespass. They shouldn't own any land. It should all be, it should all be our land, whatever. That relationship will break down really quickly. But what we do is we put a hell of a lot of work to improving those relationships and building trust. So we have a network called the Regional Access Database, which is a network of any climbing area in England and Wales will appear on this map. The traffic light system where, based on the particular needs of that site, so if there's landing there, or there's birds that seasonally nesting, the climbers can get that information, and based on that information, they can either make a decision not to climb there, or they can, climb there. And they make a strategic decision. And what we find is there's a huge amount of positivity in that. There's very few problems and big information. So we build up that credit with landowners. Every single day, talking about wild camping is a fairly contentious issue. We are certainly not anti-landowner, but we actually are landowners in the same people. We do allow wild camping other things, similar sense of avoiding. I don't think that's Maybe I can way more than I have.
I think it's enshrined in law, enshrined in health. We go to somewhere like Scotland, like the Hebridean Way, we know we've got Scottish access. It's the right to be. You go to France, they've got something called Bivouac, with national parks like the Ypres National Park. I went to the GR before. They're very clear with the signage about where you can bivouac and how to do that. It's central. That's night in Picture Centre, we've got way later on in the year. They say designated areas where you can do that, the needs for dwellings and the refugees, stuff like that. It's really cool. I'm hiking Sweden, Finland, and all 300 miles of it in the summer. It's really enshrined in the Swedish Scandinavian sort of ethos. It's to schools. Schools spend time connected within that environment. Within the UK, we don't even teach countries like Canada as part of the English national curriculum, which is absolutely sacrilege. So I think it really boils down to guidelines and conduct and knowing what they can do, and that's quite clear. I've had landowners come to me when I worked in Scotland and say, well, you can't miss this spot around the creek, and it's really great to connect sort of camping. It's so refreshing. Because it's the absolute polar opposite. Sort of thing that will have weird conversations that have been campaign watching at school, trying to my school, and then that then returns to me and says, we can't camp here, this is my land. But the other side of that place doesn't belong to us, so why don't we defend them? And it's just a bizarre sort of setting.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a lot about culture, and I don't just mean the culture of the people who are going on camping. I mean the culture of people who, manage landowners. It's not just landowners, that's actually park writers. It kind of boils down to the idea of if you treat people like just if they have dreams that way, if people being separated from their landscape, then they're mistaken. In terms of like Scandinavia, I was there for the first time months ago, and I was like, my friends were laughing at me because every sign I would see, I would take a picture of the flowers. You'd never see a sign that's in Wales. So, for example, one of them said, by a lovely lake, he said, dive, swim, but please no soaking. That's like, it was by a small private cabin in the woods. I can't ever imagine that's like a trust and encouragement being for signing the West. I saw signing on someone the other day that was like that. If you're reading this sign, you're trespassing, get off my land. It was not in that language, it was in the thing language, but there was also a threat of being shot. Which is, that's the language they speak in British countryside in a lot of ways, unfortunately. We're a new sort of oh, that's a good question. I mean, Alcohol is one interesting. Well, many landowners have been enjoying this for a really long time, but you can kind of specific places where you've had a more get on my land type thing.
Last week, with this gentleman training on Dartmoor, we stayed actually at a farmer's farm, because our group was too big to safely on and he was very much, bring your family onto my land, when you've got quiet moments, can I do that? And I think he saw the benefit of engaging with the sort of generation about building that trust and, connecting with the landscape. And I think, that's quite refreshing. The landowners recognise that it was in their benefit as well to actually educate trade principles to actually about, shutting gates and how to be around their livestock. It's only going to benefit both people. So, that was a really trusting moment.
Yeah, I read a really interesting interview someone had with a Swedish aristocrat that owned a couple of thousand acres, which is quite a lot of land. And they kind of asked him, like, how do you feel about they don't want the rights of Romans, they call it unstructured, which means like every man's right. So it's like really fundamental for the culture. He said, like, I would be really sad. There's like aristocrats, so Swedish guy. I would be really sad if they took it away. It's like very normal, So I think there are some landowners who would take that both. There was The farm call definitely will be on the H radio last week talking about how she failed to get right away moved out of her farm a few years ago, and I was extremely grateful that she didn't, because that community's got very well for the farm. Like, I'm doing volunteering days, she's got schools, visiting, stop signs on the farm saying, "This way for the cycle path," like, it's remarkable how there are like, there's also an organisation called the Access to Farms Land Organisation, which Deborah is a part of, so that's taking different activities, reaching, they see access as a way of reaching customers, reaching more custom, more aspects to their neighbourhood.
Mentioning that Scotland and the rules, the law is different. It's the experience in landowners and law and like England.
It's a really good question. There's huge lessons to be learned from it, and it's not perfect. There are, this isn't the right to vote everywhere in Scotland either. There's exclusions. They've been changing where exclusions need to happen. They'll be aware of the Joseph spots where people are wanting it too much, and believe that's restrictions. In Scotland, since they got the right to vote in, there's been a 13% increase in walking. And it is very much the most popular law that has ever been passed in Scotland. So, as an endorsement for the general public, it doesn't get from like landowning organisations. They have, they had extremely like objections to the stuff. They said it's going to be a big meltdown of rural economy. There's going to be an epidemic of disease, problem, disease, land prices will collapse. None of that is going to collapse. And essentially, their objections have turned from, we need to get rid of this, to we need to tackle problems like specific problems like so it's not from response to bulldogs being used for more places. They have granting. It's supporting the reason been on fine for operations, whereas in England, it's about 4,000. So instead of, I think they've moved from trying to sort of use these problems for real problems to completely cut off access to the problems themselves, which I think is a way to go.
What was said that most people want to be ensuring our young people were responsible. But we always get those raised to account of that. And I can give you two examples of course, leaving them all at what they do on the lives. Obviously, they like to do something about that. I mean, but I do one time I got really distressed. I feel quite grateful about that. And not knowing it was the best food. There was spoke to on one occasion, and I did it, but some of them they were very big. And they were this mission. I said, that's really worth very positive. But that is really not me. And I just love that you say about the big possibly the accidents to promote the innovation to the only views of anybody that's around them. To give us to actually good result.
I couldn't agree more. Any thoughts on that one?
I absolutely concur with that. I mean, my heart breaks for landowners that have people that irresponsibly access their land. And they're not protecting them. People are going to wild camp irresponsibly on the I think something like a right to road, as I sort of hinted, tightens up on the dotted lines, it tightens up on the bylaws to protect landowners, it tightens up on the right ability to educate people and to actually tell them how to into the exercise responsibility. And we've not got that at the moment. We've not got the vehicle to actually educate people on doing those landscapes and to lead by example, because there's no right to do that. So it's a bit of a tricky situation. BMC obviously tackle that head on because they promote access rules, but it's so hard without that enshrined in our laws to actually protect animals. So, yes, I completely agree with it.
Any more questions? I'll go over here first, then come back to you.
With how the laws written are at the moment, what would you say is the best way to educate yourself about access and the best way to go about something that's in the right there? That's a great area, but is there any like tools or like platforms or anything that you could just get more information on that and then access land as a lot of information?
Nice, yeah. I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, but we the BMC have produced some sources on how to wild camp for them. And actually, recently, some of the national parks have started to feature on their website our video, which is really nice. Because a few years ago they said wild camping is illegal, we can't do it on our website. But now they're saying, well, actually, they're doing it, so we may as well tell them out. I really encourage speaking to people like the Classic Reading over here, Mountain Trillium. These guys are the best educators out there in terms of where to go, how to do it. But again, I would be encouraging you to have a look at your local area. Like take a look at the map. Think this could be an interesting spot, and let us know if you want this. Someone told me stay with me is that one of the best ways to try and achieve freedom is the main if you've already got it. So doing it, and eventually they'll come around. That is partly the time to check. It's a customary right to join many situations. They thought, well, actually, it would be really beneficial if this was something enjoyed. So, question for you?
So if you wanted to do it digitally, like information on the land law, how do you go about figuring out who owns that?
Yeah, tough question. This is something that we have quite a lot of problems with as well. In the, to make a search on a property, it costs £37,000. So actually, that's one way to find out who owns that. However, it's extremely difficult, and it's like a great game.